You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
The AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Extreme Weight Loss After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Extreme Weight Loss After Show.
Ooh.
Sorry, it didn't play.
That's okay. Gotta hear this song because it's absolutely amazing. Welcome everybody to season 3, episode 5 of Extreme Weight Loss. I'm your host, Lauren Mendoza, and joining me today is the very hot engineer, Martin Valles.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind.
Of course. And I just want to say I had to play that song as the intro because that is newly released today, Jay-Z, Magna Carta, and that's absolutely fantastic. Totally unrelated to the show, but I want to add it to my playlist, my gym playlist. So I had to do that. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. As I mentioned, we're in episode 5. And just when I thought it couldn't get any more emotional after watching Ryan's episode, this episode definitely caught me off guard, and it's just as emotional as Ryan's story in an entirely different way. So let's get right into it. We meet Jami, who is 28, living in Philadelphia, and right away we learn about her story. She was adopted as a 2-year-old from Chile, and we learn that one of her biggest dreams is to be able to meet her birth mom, because she's actually been able to keep in touch with her over the years, but hasn't actually seen her in a long time. But Jami was just such an interesting case. She is a resident director for a dance program where she oversees about 30 dance students every single day, making sure they meet their dance schedule, they eat the right foods, they're getting their workouts in, they're getting all their rehearsals in. So while she is surrounded by a number of healthy young individuals, and while she's encouraging these students, she is not really practicing her own healthy habits. She kind of contradicts herself in a way. She's constantly pushing them to do this, but not doing it herself. And it was so heartbreaking to watch her, as I'm sure all of you guys felt the same when you saw her stand there and look in the mirror. And she said to the producer that must have been in the room, you're going to make me look again. And she just cried and didn't want to actually stare at herself in the mirror. One thing that she said that I have never heard anybody say about themselves and couldn't imagine somebody say, but she compared herself to a piece of trash. She said, you wouldn't stop to stare at a piece of trash on the side of the road, so why do I want to turn and look at myself again? I don't even want to look at myself in the mirror. And she says, I already know I'm ugly. And it was so heartbreaking because to see her living in such a positive environment in terms of her job and living amongst such really positive young people, it's almost like, how could this person think that way of herself? It was just absolutely heartbreaking. And she goes into detail about, being given up as a child, and that she knows that, her mother did it at the time because it was the right thing to do. But how she then had a very difficult relationship with her adopted mother, and actually continues to have a very hard relationship, which is what we see throughout the course of the episode. But of course, we have the very buff Chris Powell, who is coming to surprise her, and he always has to do it in his own fun, really creative style.
It's a bit flamboyant.
This one, actually, most of them are a bit flamboyant. First, we had him at one point in the carrot costume on a kiddie stage.
Yeah.
And then today we see him, and I kind of love Chris Powell because he has such a great spirit about it. And, he's doing this on national television in front of gazillions of people. And he comes out as part of the dance routine while Jami is watching these dancers in a full body leotard. And it was not very manly. I mean,
He's
Powell,
committed.
he's definitely committed. He is shameless. You know, he is confident, and
He's got no shame though when he's got a body like that. The dude is jacked.
He
So,
is jacked.
if I was him, I'd be walking around in a leotard all the time.
Okay, that could be true. However, I mean, if there's any manly body that could look good in a leotard, it's definitely going to be Chris Powell. However, that was not flattering. I'm just going to say. It wasn't very manly. It was like low cut, almost as if it was made for a girl with cleavage. And while I absolutely love his spirit and think he's such an adorable person and I love him, Chris Powell, I would not recommend wearing that again. Just my fashion sense personally. But regardless, Chris comes out in a leotard and, of course, surprises Jami. She breaks into tears. Her students break into tears. I broke into tears. I'm sure many of you broke into tears as you watched this happen. And, of course, he tells her that, you know, he selected her to be part of the program. And it was absolutely amazing. He takes her in to be weighed on the horrible freight scale.
It's awful.
That I absolutely hate every single episode.
It's terrible.
It is terrible. It's just so...
It's dehumanizing.
It's like kicking you when you're down. You know? It's like, I already
demeaning.
know I'm overweight, and now you're going to put me on a scale that really has to be used for freight. Not even just like a human scale that we could buy at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Well, they only go up to a certain amount of weight, so they probably couldn't even use them.
Think. A digital scale, something. I think it's
they
really
have a
for
limit.
show effect. That's what I'm gonna guess.
That's a crappy show effect then. They need to ditch that if it's just for show, because that's bullcrap.
Maybe. Well, anyway, she gets on the scale and sees that she weighs 292. And I mean, for me, I'm thinking, you know, we've been watching these episodes, and in relation to what we've seen other people weigh, I'm like, hey, 292, that's definitely doable. And she cries and she looks at Chris and is like, we can come back from that, right? Like, she's really looking for his reassurance. But one thing that she said that gave me so much confidence in her right away was she said something like, every step away from 292, whether it's 291, 290, every step is getting closer. And she said, I will never see 292 again. And her saying that every step, you know, recognizing just getting down to 291, getting down to 290, that recognizing that each step is a step closer, I thought for somebody in her situation was so amazing. Because I think when they're so overweight or they're so desperate to lose weight, it's hard to recognize small goals, you know, or to accept that that's how you have to do it. And I feel like her saying that, she was already accepting that. And I think that's a big part of it. I mean, of course, we get into the first phase where we see, you know, she's feeling like she can't lose weight fast enough. But regardless, the fact that that was part of her reaction, I feel like you could already see that she was somebody that could turn a negative into a positive. And so I kind of already had confidence in her and knew that this was going to be kind of a great episode, and that she, even though she looked so beaten down and negative and so sad in the very beginning and had absolutely no confidence, I also felt like she was such a positive person. So I thought, you know, this experience can maybe only bring more of that out of her. So I was really excited to kind of see where we were going. So, you know, we see her go into the first workout and she already starts to break down. Before Chris even has her do anything, she starts crying, and Chris says something about, you know, being worried right away that maybe she can't make it through this entire year. And I thought that was interesting to hear Chris say, to even be able to kind of admit that he had his concerns about her. But you know what? She got through it, and, you know, she kind of pushed through. And Chris was really encouraging. He said to her, you know, because she was so afraid of letting him down. And he said to her, you're so afraid of something in the future that you can't even focus on living right now.
Right.
And I feel like that is something we can all relate to. Don't you agree?
100%. Yeah. You worry about the what if.
Yeah.
What you can't control.
Yeah. You worry about that it's keeping you from that very present moment. And, you know, there she is crying and worrying about disappointing him when it's like, you haven't even tried yet.
Right.
You don't even know that that's a case. Like, what is the point in worrying? Like, worrying really, there is no purpose to it. It does no good. And I think he was really trying to prove that. Like, don't worry about something that hasn't happened yet. It's really a waste of energy. And so we see her kind of push through it and you know, just kind of kick into the program. And when she is about to leave to go home and be on her own, she tells Chris something that's really kind of amazing. She says that she's decided to quit her job and actually spend that full year completely focusing on herself. And Chris was really taken back by it because she has such an amazing job. She has such a love for her job. And it almost seems that that could be the only thing in her life that she really loves. You know, she loved the students that she worked with. But at the same time, he thought, you know what, this is just one of many big steps that she's taking into putting herself first. And the interesting part is we see her go back home and they actually go in and tape her giving her resignation to her job. And she cries pretty much before she can even get the words out. And I thought for sure these people who seem to love her, or at least the students seem to love her, would be so supportive of her. And they weren't. They, you know, one of them looked a little teary-eyed, like as if she was going to miss her. But their question was, well, how soon is this going to happen? And one of the guys, one of her bosses, basically said, well, you know, your plan is our problem. And
Not very supportive.
No. And I thought, even if that is showing his true colors, if that is who he really is, I was like, couldn't he at least fake it for the camera? Like, there's a camera in there, and you're going to come across to an entire world of being not, you know, non-supportive of this goal. I mean, if somebody who has seemed to be a very hard worker, dedicated, and has done a lot of good for you, hello, like, how do you not support that person? So I was a little bit disappointed. That was not what I planned to see, but whatever. You know what? She stuck to her decision and quit and went home, and we see her go into the phase 1 a little too eager. Chris gives her the goal of losing 80 pounds in the first 90 days, and automatically she's thinking that's almost a pound a day. She said plus, you know, plus or minus a bad day here and there. And that's true. That's exactly what I was thinking. And that's hard. You know, she's not a 500-pound person. And to lose weight, I don't know, so quickly, I guess that seems like a really intense goal. But, you know, Chris Powell knows what he's doing. So
he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. So, you know, she starts to exercise. We see her really hitting it hard. And I think she already kind of is showing signs of really being athletic. She talks about how, you know, when she is supposed to be resting during the program, she's actually working out. And she actually admits to really not focusing on her eating so much and knowing that there are times when she's not getting enough calories, which I think, you know, she's just kind of saying, oops. And we saw that in Ryan's season. I mean, we didn't really learn it until he had gone to the doctors, but Jami's kind of admitting it up front to the cameras that, you know, that's how she's hitting it. And when Chris notices this, he's definitely concerned and comes into the picture and he checks in with her at about 35 days. And it's sad because at the 35-day mark, I'm sure you guys could tell, I could tell, she already looked good. She was looking really great. Like, you could see it. But the video that she was shooting of herself, kind of her own video diary, she was talking about how she's not seeing these results really at all. She's not noticing it. And I just thought that is so sad, but I think that is also so common in people that are heavy and that identify with being heavy and maybe have been heavy their whole life or have battled weight problems their entire life. They identify with, you know, that image that they have of themselves in the mirror. So even as they're getting smaller, they're just not noticing it.
Well, because they've been that way for so long that that's all they see.
I know, but it's interesting because it's like to somebody else who has maybe known you your entire life, can look at you and can see very clearly, very noticeably where you're losing weight, how you're losing weight, that you are in fact losing weight. And you look at yourself every day and just to not notice that, I mean, I think that's hard, you know? So she weighs in at about 35 days, and she's kind of already ahead of schedule. She's already lost 39 pounds at that point, so more than a pound a day. So Chris actually decides to kind of scale back on her exercise, maybe add a little bit more calories, and she's obviously, I think as anybody would be, a little concerned because, you know, they don't know how to lose weight. So when they think about adding more calories, when it was too many calories that got them where they are, I could see where you might be a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
So he kind of kicks that into gear. Also in the first phase, we see Jami go to her grandmother's 90th birthday. And it's really sweet because she talks about how in love she is with her grandmother and, you know, how much her grandmother has done for her over the years and how in love she is with her. And she goes to this and she's actually concerned about running into her adopted mom. And she goes to the birthday and of course her adopted mom is there. And I don't know, her adopted mom basically is like, oh, do you want to eat something? And Jami's like, no, I can't eat that. Jami kind of seemed a little annoyed with her adopted mom when her adopted mom would say anything to her. So you could just tell there was a lot of tension in the relationship, which was really sad to see. But, you know, as you guys know, she continues to work on her relationship with her as we go later into the episode. So then Chris stays with her for the remainder of that first phase until her 90-day weigh-in. And if you guys remember, she was given the goal to lose a full 80 pounds in the 90 days. She was ahead of schedule at 35 days. So she was aiming to hit 212. She weighs in at 218 and missed it by 6. And just because of how hard she was hitting it and how determined she was to hit that goal, you know, the fact that she was skipping her rest, I was kind of worried that she would react really poorly to that. And she said something that was so cute. She's like, I don't know if 6 pounds has ever felt so good. And I thought that was amazing because she could care less that she missed the goal by 6 pounds.
She had a great disposition this whole...
The entire episode.
She's probably one of the better
contestants
contenders in terms of like disposition and attitude towards the whole thing.
Yeah.
She was amazing.
She was amazing. And I think as I was noticing that when she said that, I was like, oh my God, that's just the most amazing thing for somebody to say when you're kind of thinking, oh my God, they're going to be so disappointed. I know when we had Ryan on last week, he talked about being so determined. He's like, I know I'm going to hit my goal every single week. I'm going to hit it every single week. And he did.
He did.
He definitely did. But it's like, when you're so determined, what if you don't?
Yeah.
You know, how are you going to react to that? And so I was concerned, kind of like watching like, oh my gosh, what is she going to do? And she had this big smile on her face, and 6 pounds has never looked so good to her. She recognized how much she actually lost. She lost 74 pounds. And that's insane. Like, that's amazing. And like I said, as I noticed, as you noticed her disposition, Chris noticed it, you know, just as much. And he said her attitude and her change of mind is almost a bigger success than even her weight loss, because we saw her just so hating herself in the beginning. So for her to not kick herself for not hitting that goal, for her to be discouraged to go on, I mean, that was huge. And Chris noticed that. And I love that he actually kind of called that out. Because she was so determined in that first phase, Chris, rather than giving her a number goal to keep her from being so paranoid with the scale, as I think many people are, he, instead of that, gives her a fitness goal rather than a numbers goal, and says he is going to challenge her to a cross-training competition, which means she then has 3 months to kind of get herself into this cross-training shape, which is a little insane. I mean, even for me, you know, I'm not like in the most amazing shape, but I'm athletic. I do exercise, but to train for cross training in 3 months, I mean, that's a hard goal for anybody, because that's intense. I mean, he says they do gymnastics, heavy
do some
lifting.
Pretty gnarly stuff.
Yeah.
They tip over wheels.
Yeah.
Big tires.
It's not like for sissies.
No.
It's not for beginners.
They like throw kegs. I don't know.
Yeah.
They do a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah. And so he also says that at that 6-month weigh-in, he is going to be giving her a round trip ticket to Chile to meet her birth mom. So she was super duper excited about
Chile.
that.
Say it right.
Chile. Well, I'm so sorry.
Your last name's Mendoza.
Yeah, that's true. Well, anyways, moving on. She's super excited about that, as we all are. And, you know, we kind of had to know that was going to come sometime in the episode. So we kind of fast forward through this next phase. You know, we see her at day 55. I had this noted, a quick glimpse of her doing pull-ups. I mean, pull-ups are hard, even when you're in shape.
Pull-ups are tough for anyone.
Yeah, even when you're in shape.
That shit is no joke at the gym.
And I think, I mean, I'm not trying to let any ladies off the hook, but I feel like for females especially, guys seem to get it a little bit better, maybe because their upper body strength.
We're stronger in our upper body.
Yeah. Because I think even for a woman that exercises regularly, pull-ups are hard. Like, I kick my legs. I'm like, please get me up. Like, it's not easy. So when I saw her doing that, I'm like, this girl she's amazing. Like,
Strong.
she's insane. She is no joke. Okay, I'm so impressed by her.
She's strong.
Then, of course, we see at day 165, she gets on the camera in tears, and we find out that she's hurt her hip. So Chris then goes to the doctor to kind of find out what he can do. He has her planned, to do this cross-training competition, and finds out that this is obviously not going to be something that she really could participate in. So we unfortunately don't see her hit that, but, she continues to hit other goals. So at day 180, she flies in to Chile.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfectamente.
And she lands, and she gets a call from Chris, of course. And I think she's at a hotel.
Yeah.
Where she's standing in front of the world's largest swimming pool.
That thing's amazing.
It is amazing. It is. It's very amazing. I really want to go there. I think so. Yeah. I think that sounds like a good plan. It's 1.2 miles long. So, of course, she's not just going to land there and have this great vacation and meet her mom and everything's going to be sweet and fantastic. He, of course, gives her a goal that before she meets her mom, she has one thing to do, and that is to swim the full length of the pool and then run back and do it within an hour. So it's timed. And I think that was kind of her biggest concern, was kind of meeting that time constraint, because I think she thought, I could do it, but maybe at her own pace. Well, we come to find out that her pace is better than what Chris could have imagined, and she beats that goal. She finishes in 42 minutes. She's got 20 minutes to spare, okay, on that goal. She could have taken her time. She could have stopped to take a break, but she didn't. She powered through, and I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
Didn't she say she was thinking of doing it again?
Oh, well, he called her, or she called him, told him what she did, and she was like, that was awesome. I think I could do it again. I don't think she did, or if she did, we didn't see it.
Yeah.
That would have been kind of great. But I don't know. I don't know if she was joking or if she really felt like she could. I think she was kind of on such a natural high. Like, she finished, and the first things out of her mouth was, that was amazing. And I thought, if I had just run and swam 1.2 miles, I don't even know if I would have the breath to say anything. So
just be a lot of heavy breathing.
A lot of heavy breathing, or thank God, or I would have fallen to the floor.
Water.
Yeah, something. But her words were, that was amazing. So she is somebody that I really, throughout this episode, I'm just watching in complete admiration and thinking, I want to be that girl. I want to have her attitude. I want to not look at a challenge as dreading it or even worrying about it. As I said, we're seeing, worrying about something that you haven't even attempted. It's natural. I think nerves are definitely natural, but at the same time, to kind of take that moment and remind yourself that you're wasting your energy and it's not worth it, and let me just go into this open-minded and see what happens. I think we all really have the capability to kind of amaze ourselves. And that is something that she continues to do, and she recognizes that. She even says later on, I didn't know how powerful I was. And I guarantee you that most of us in this world really don't know how amazing we are, how powerful we are, or what we can actually accomplish. We just, I don't know. I think it's very natural to kind of not try sometimes, or think you can't, or think something is too far out of reach.
Self-regulate ourselves.
Yeah, or just think this has always been who I am. These are my habits.
People get comfortable.
People get comfortable. So she finishes that goal, and the next day we see her meet her birth mom in the park, and it was just amazing because they came together first with just tears. They really didn't say anything for a little bit and just kind of hugged, and it was so cute because they totally looked alike.
Totally.
I mean, that's just amazing to see somebody walk up to you, your birth mom that you haven't seen since you were 2 years old, and who remembers anything at 2 years old? I mean, just to see her and know that you look alike. I thought, that must have been just such an amazing moment. I was a mess, personally. I was in the screening room by myself, totally crying. I could definitely admit that. I'm sure many people at home were all tears.
It was an emotional episode.
It was an emotional episode. Every
It gets heavier,
episode
too.
is emotional, but
gets
some
deep.
are just, they get you right in the heart.
I feel like all these episodes get you in the heart, though.
Me or just
No,
everybody?
just the audience in general.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these are true stories, and these are things that we can relate to.
They're sad stories.
Even if you haven't had a weight problem, there are things that you see in these people, these insecurities or these challenges that they are trying to overcome. We see that in these people, and we can relate to that,
Agreed.
even if we, are facing it in a different way ourselves.
Right.
So we definitely see her with her birth mom. We see her go visit the town where she grew up in. We see where her mom's currently living, which is probably smaller than the studio that I'm sitting in. And I mean, it was her home, and it was a place that she made her own. She cooks food there, and she also meets her 11-year-old sister, Jasmine, which I thought was so sweet. It was just such an emotional moment, and they really gave a lot of attention to this part of the show.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't at all exercise focused, but I think this was maybe the biggest piece of her journey that she really needed. She struggled so long with her adopted mom and really not feeling like she had that nurturing mother, but always believing it to be that woman that, had to let her go at 2 years old. And so it was just... they seem like mother and daughter,
Yeah,
even
right
though,
away. I mean, right away there was a bond.
But right away there was a bond, and the way that they interacted and just how comfortable I think they seemed with each other, they kind of looked like they could step right back into their relationship without any hiccups and maybe just catching up, learning about what has happened in each other's lives, but maybe always knowing who that other person really is. I don't know. I thought it was a really, really great moment. So before we get into the next phase, which is the 6-month weigh-in, before we get there, I want to take a moment to thank all you guys who have been subscribing on iTunes, rating and commenting, especially those on YouTube who have been leaving us some fantastic comments. I love that you guys are watching, that these stories are hitting you the same way that they're hitting me. So if you guys have anything you want to share, if you want to call in, I mean, I know, like I said, we all have a story. We can all relate to these in so many different ways. And if you ever want to call in, please don't hesitate to do so. If you can't call in, like I said, continue to subscribe on iTunes, comment. We get a kickback here, and that keeps us doing what we love doing most. And while you're on iTunes, please don't forget to download The Adventures of Serial Buddies, a film brought to you by the AfterBuzz TV creators, Kevin Undergaro and Maria Menounos. And you could get it there or theadventuresofserialbuddies.com.
Perfect.
Right?
It's hilarious.
It is hilarious. It's hilarious. So while you're on iTunes subscribing to us, don't forget to download that and let us know what you think. Next, getting into the 6-month weigh-in. She goes to Arizona to meet at Chris's home, which looks fabulous.
I love that he lives in Phoenix too.
And he's not like a LA Hollywood
he's
guy.
not like Hollywood bougie. He's just
No,
like,
he's
I live in
not.
Phoenix. It's cheap out here, whatever.
Probably, and he's got a nice property, so
He's
can't
got nice
complain.
everything.
He does have a nice everything. I think you're referring to his wife, who we see come in this last phase.
I'm referring to everything. House, his wife.
Body in a leotard.
That's right.
Yeah. So he comes, Jami comes to see him at his home, and she gets on the scale for her 6-month weigh-in. She didn't have a number to hit, so this was more of just kind of checking in to see her progress. She weighed in. This is absolutely fantastic. She weighed in at 192, meaning
Down 100 in 6 months.
100 pounds in 6 months. In that time frame, she had lost 26, but 100 pounds in 6 months. That's amazing.
Incredible.
That is like one petite woman. Really petite
that's
woman.
A size 0 woman.
Really, really petite woman, but either way, it could possibly be one full human being. And
It's definitely a full human
that's a
being.
lot. That is a lot of weight. That is so much weight. I just absolutely love it. But I thought it was great because Chris brings her into kind of his home workout studio, and she works out with Chris and Heidi. And it's in this time that we see her doing more push-ups, by the way. So impressed by
pull-ups.
that. I mean, sorry, pull-ups.
And she's doing push-ups too.
And she's doing push-ups.
Like,
not just push-ups.
Not girl push-ups as they call them.
No, she is hitting the floor.
She's doing some full-on military-style push-ups.
Right. Then she's going up, and then she's like doing the weight thing. Like, she's got her push-up and pull-up routine down.
She's strong.
Oh, she's so strong. But in this time, she sits down and has a really intense heart-to-heart with Chris and Heidi, and
That was deep.
It was really deep. She admits to pretty much having a plan to committing suicide. At that first 6 months, right when they first met, she said she had her bottle of pills, that there was one point where she thought, okay, when Chris leaves, like, I'm done.
Yeah,
like,
she was going to do it that night when all the camera crew left, like that first night.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Maybe that was when her nerves hit her the most, and maybe that was when she really questioned whether or not she could actually do this. Like, what did I get myself into? Maybe being scared she was going to be doing this on national television. I mean, maybe it was those nerves. Yeah. I mean, we obviously know she didn't want to fail. I feel like that was the one thing she continuously would break down in tears about anytime she talked about the thought of disappointing somebody.
Right.
So maybe, at the time that was just getting to her, but I don't doubt that. I mean, she said she had her bottle of pills. She kind of had a plan for it. I don't doubt that long before the show, this was something she had obviously considered,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's just like, oh, I think I'm
right.
I don't know. But it was heartbreaking, and Chris was absolutely just stunned by it. And I think, that's when he even admitted, and I think we all know that this show is so much more than a show. It's really saving lives in this way. Very literal. Actually, in every way, very literal.
Tweet? Do you remember who sent you that tweet earlier today?
I did get a tweet from, I believe the Twitter handle is Dark Knight, and I know that he is also somebody who comments on our YouTube. So thank you so much. And his comment was...
It was very apropos for this episode.
It was, and I have to admit that when I got it, I was like, what is he talking about? But now I know, and it was in this moment that I thought, this is exactly what he's talking about. He said, at @low_Vias, at extreme weight loss, you don't know what effect you have on a person. And I think that was just so true of this episode that we saw today, and especially in this very moment. She didn't even have to admit that. She could have continued this episode, and we could have seen, definitely a life-saving change in her health and in her mindset. And we might have never known that at one point she was committing suicide. And that could be the case for anybody, whether it's somebody on the show, whether it's people It's just, you never know what people are really battling with. So that was just kind of a big moment for her. So in this phase, we also see her trying to build a stronger relationship with her mom. She goes out to dinner with her mom, and she coins a term called Jami's balls. At first, I was like, what? Then I realized, it's Jami, amaze balls. I thought it was the cutest thing. We see her.
Yours could be LeMay's balls.
What? Mine could be LeMay's balls?
LeMay's balls. There you go.
Oh, my God. I love it. LeMay's balls. Woo, woo. What are you, Mamaze balls?
That doesn't work. No, that doesn't work.
Totally doesn't work.
No,
sorry.
That's awful.
It's all me. I'm LeMay's balls.
LeMay's balls.
One thing that she does, which I thought was the absolute cutest thing, she has this wall of victory. And she says something, you have to be ready to finish what you start. And she has these little goals, and she puts them all up on her victory wall. And of course, she does her cute little dance. And her personality is just somebody that I was continuously falling in love with after every commercial break. Like, definitely. I just absolutely love this girl. I want to be best friends. We can go shopping. We could work out together.
Totally.
Oh my God, Jami's balls. Call LeMay's balls. We'll make it happen. It'll be great. I love it. Then we see her come up to her 9-month weigh-in. Again, she doesn't have a number goal, which I absolutely love,
but this was wasn't this the trying to hit the 40% body loss so she could get the surgery?
Yes, this is definitely the point in the show when every contestant gets on the scale to see if they are an approved candidate for the skin removal surgery.
Happy Dr. Stoker.
Happy Doctor. That's all we call him, Happy Doctor, because all he does is smile. Even when he's saying potentially bad news, he continues to smile. It's like you don't know what he's going to do. Chris tells her that she needs to be at 175 pounds or less, and she misses it. Well, she hits 177. So she's off by 2 pounds. Again, didn't like nothing registered. She had nothing but a smile on her face because all she could see was that she was down another 15 pounds and she was at 177. To her, 9 months before, that was unheard of. She didn't think she could do it. She was ready to give up. And so she, I don't even think she was thinking about the skin removal surgery. But she was only off by less than a full percentage of the 40% recommended or needed.
Yeah, she was at like 39.38 or 0.28 or something.
Exactly. So rather than, saying you're completely, disqualified, I guess, from the surgery, Chris takes her into the doctors, and as he's smiling and saying, well, you didn't hit it, or whatever he's saying.
Dr. Stoker.
Yeah. Is that his real name?
Yeah, it's his little thing came up, his little lower third came up, and it was Dr. Stoker. Marina Del Rey.
Oh, fantastic.
Not far from the AfterBuzz Studios.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so he finally says with a smile, I think because she had also gained 30% muscle mass, says that she's a great candidate. So we see her go into skin removal surgery. And at this moment, we also see Chris bring in a laptop where he shows a message from her adopted mom. I thought it might be from her birth mom just because of their close relationship, but I thought this was such a great moment. And I think it took a lot for her adopted mom to do this.
That was before the surgery, right?
Right before the surgery, yeah. As she's basically there in her hospital gown.
Right.
And her mom, tells her she loves her, sends her a hug from her and her grandmother, and then says, adopting you is the best thing I've done. And to me, it looked like, I know she meant it, the adopted mom. I don't doubt that, obviously. I think it was very obvious that she really meant it, but it also looked like maybe she had never said that before.
Yeah.
And I think it was so needed, not just for Jami, but for her as well.
And what did Chris say after that? He said, you are loved, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Chris is kind of cheesy.
You're loved.
You're loved. Like, she needs to know it. She needs to know that regardless of their relationship with her adopted mom, like, her adopted mom loves her. She continued to raise her, she 100%. Brought her up, and I feel like they just both needed that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really...
like a coming to Jesus.
Coming to Jesus. It was a really great moment. So we see her get her skin removed. Well, we don't see it, but we know she does, which is absolutely fantastic. Then we pretty much head into...
Yeah, we're in the final wrap here.
The final weigh-in.
Yeah.
The final weigh-in. Before I get into the final weigh-in, no, let's go straight into the final weigh-in.
You final sure?
weigh-in.
What'd you want to do?
Well, I'm going to save it for later.
Okay.
Just a little bit of news.
Okay.
A little bit of news.
Okay.
We go into the final weigh-in, and it's amazing. The final weigh-in in Philadelphia, we see...
on the steps where Rocky ran.
On the steps where Rocky ran. So appropriate. We see not only her adopted mom in the audience, we see her birth mother, and we see her sister Jasmine. And I thought, how perfect is that for her? Yeah. So then what we see is Chris comes out, and both you and I kind of thought when before he does his introduction about Jami, he mentioned that, a year ago when we first started this journey, Jami had plans to take her own life.
Yeah, I was like, Chris should have saved. I mean, I know it was on TV.
I know it was on TV, but we already knew that. Like, do we need that dramatic effect again?
Right.
In my mind, I thought, really? Does this need to be something that's said to an entire crowd?
That should have been saved for just you and Heidi.
Then again, it wasn't, though, because it was on national television.
Right, exactly. But that's what I'm saying, yeah. So it's kind of like, well... It was going to be on TV anyways, but...
Well, and then the sad part was that we cut to the adopted mom in the crowd, and it looks like this is the first time she's ever heard that.
Oh, well, I'm sure it was. I mean, know.
But how painful is that to think that you raised...
She was crying pretty...
Yeah. Well, and then she's thinking, I raised this girl her entire life. She knows how rough their relationship is, and I would imagine that you start to question how your relationship affected that decision.
Right, totally.
Or... participated in
what you could have done better.
Yeah, what you could have done better, like how you could have been a part of her not feeling
loved.
Makes
you feel like a crappy parent.
Probably.
To some extent.
Yeah, probably. And that was sad to see. And I think it made me really happy just to see that message, and then to also, see the dinner that they had together, because you can tell they're really trying to work on it. And to see how touched her adopted mom was and how proud she was for her was great. So we see her hot pink heels hit the floor.
Those were cute.
scan up to her hot legs.
Her legs are amazing.
I know.
Like,
I'm envious.
those are some amazing
They're fantastic.
legs. Yeah. Outstanding.
Amazing. Amazing.
Amazing.
Ugh. We couldn't talk enough about her fantastic legs.
We couldn't.
And I love them. That's all I'm going to say. Jami's balls.
Jami's balls.
Call them A's balls. We see her fantastic legs, hot skirt, and she gets up there and decides to do her final weigh-in in a bikini.
Shit, why
Chris
not,
was
right?
totally caught off guard.
Why
He's
not?
like, why not?
She's like, help me take off this dress.
Yeah, and a cute bikini at that, let me say.
It was cute.
I want it. So she gets on. She's amazing. She is at 162 pounds at her final weigh-in.
Looking good.
She lost a total of 130 pounds.
That's a good year right there.
That is an amazing, amazing year. And I mean, I have to say, at that moment when I thought 130 pounds in 1 year, aside from weight loss, just fitness goals and all that she accomplished and just the muscle that she gained and the things she was able to do, you know, swimming that pool, running, pull-ups, everything she's able to do now physically, just in terms of, you know, fitness, I guess.
Yeah.
I thought, like, what can I do? What can I do in a year? It's amazing. I don't know what I can do. I don't know my full potential, and I think most of us don't.
Either.
She didn't either, and she needed somebody to kind of guide her through that, but not all of us have that. So, I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. Leave it on iTunes. Leave it on YouTube. You know, what does that get you thinking about what you could possibly do in a year? You know, I mean, it's just kind of amazing. So that concludes that. But before we wrap, I want to give some quick news and gossip. Can we cue that up?
AfterBuzz TV News.
All right. So because we weren't able to report it last time, I wanted to let you guys know, as you may know already, that Extreme Weight Loss was renewed for a 4th season. So we have that to look forward to. 13 episodes, and I saw today that Heidi Powell, Chris Powell's wife, tweeted this morning, first morning of Extreme Weight Loss 4 workout. So we can assume that they are currently in production, taping.
Is it going to be coming back? Is it going to be always a summer show, do you think? Or are they going to try to
I imagine so,
winter?
because if they're just starting, they need a year.
Right, to post and all that.
Yeah. So I imagine they're starting now. So we have next summer to look forward to. And lastly, I want to tell all of you LA folks who are in the area wanting to get your fitness on that there is a fantastic event coming up this Saturday called Roga.
Are you talking about Roga?
I'm talking about Roga.
Girl.
And I'm pushing Roga.
Atta kid.
Roga is this Saturday. It will take place every Saturday in July. And basically, you want to know what Roga is? It is running plus yoga. From 8 to 9, there's going to be a run walk at the Santa Monica Pier. And then from 9 to 10, you go into some guided yoga. It's completely free.
I mean, who doesn't want to run on the beach and do some yoga on the beach?
And it's free.
If you want to do it, go to the beach.
Exactly. You want to kind of kick your health habits into gear. You could bring a friend. If you can't afford a gym pass, this is a free event. You could do it with an ocean view.
It's July in Southern California, people.
It's July in Southern California.
Let's get to
So
the
for
beach.
all of you LA folks or somewhere in the Southern California area
Orange
that want
County,
to come,
San Bernardino.
definitely
Take a drive.
I will be there, and I will be with the Good LA team. If you haven't heard of them, look them up. But we will be there collecting running shoes and athletic gear for some local LA organizations to kind of pay it forward and bring some healthy gear to those that are in need of it.
I got some running shoes that I don't use.
You better bring them.
All right, we'll do.
So, yeah, so for all of you guys who are in the LA area, go to Roga at the Santa Monica Pier this Saturday. Starts at 8 a.m. You know you want to get up early on a Saturday. And if you have any kind of equipment that you don't use, bring it there. Look for the Good LA sign, and it's a place to donate. And that wraps up my news and gossip, and that wraps up my episode. And
it was a good episode.
Thanks. All right, you guys can find me on Twitter at @lo_Valles, LO_VALLES. And you could also find me on Instagram at LOVALLES. All right, I'll see you guys next week.
That's all you got?
That's all I got.
All right.
What do you got?
I got nothing. Follow AfterBuzz TV. That's what you should do.
Thanks,
Hit 'em up
Hot
on
Martin.
Twitter.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.